In our last discussion, we explored the number 44 and its connection to the arrest of one Blessed Mhlanga, a journalist, who's Inmate 2344. We talked about how his arrest happened at a pivotal moment, a time when Zimbabwe is on the verge of significant change, a kind of societal rebirth. Some people are calling this change a wave, a term that those familiar with spiritual concepts will understand. In fact, in that particular episode where I spoke about it as a wave, it really hadn't been described as a wave. And I found that very interesting. How people came to the same realization, or at least to the same terminology. But when I was talking about a wave, I was able to give a concise breakdown of what that wave is and how it works. So we suggested that Blessed's arrest was an attempt to control this wave, this transformation. He is a figure who has captured the public's attention through his journalism, coming out as he did, speaking on very deep political matters with individuals who are speaking a different type of language, a language that has hardly been heard in our country for a very long time. So Blessed Mhlanga opened up discussions that challenged people's perspectives, preparing them for the choices they'll face as this wave of change unfolds. In spiritual terms, this arrest is seen as an attempt to manage the flow of this change, because Blessed Mhlanga, along with Blessed Geza, represent a point of power, a focal point for this energy. We discussed how they were twinned, which means that their interaction was not accidental. The number 44, as we explored, is linked to the goddess, and in the context of Zimbabwe, this connects to Nehanda. This wave, the change that's sweeping through Zimbabwe, is seen as originating from her, like a product of her womb, representing the cosmic forces expressing themselves through the people. So this isn't the first time that we've seen such a wave. In 1966, liberation fighters went to fight in Nehanda's name, driven by a similar sense of national energy. And it's interesting to note that the number 66, which we associate with that era, is hidden within the numerological value of the names of these individuals who are now galvanizing the masses once again. So there seems to be a repeating pattern, a cyclical nature to these events. To understand the power behind these two blessed figures, we need to look deeper. They're not just skilled communicators capable of energizing the public. They also possess the resources necessary to amplify their message. Their names, bearing the numerological weight of 66, tie them to a pivotal era of struggle and sacrifice in Zimbabwe's history. So this convergence of skills, resources, and symbolic connections suggests a deliberate orchestration of events, hinting at a hidden hand guiding the current wave of change. So the question remains, what forces are truly shaping Zimbabwe's destiny? I believe those orchestrating these events are operating with a deep understanding of the spiritual realm. Invocation of Nehanda's spirit is likely a key factor. Historically, the activation of such spiritual forces requires sacrifice. Moreover, intelligence agencies are known for their covert operations, and they often consult with spiritual communities, including mediums, sorcerers, and others. So this access to spiritual insight suggests that the current power struggle isn't merely political. It's also a spiritual battle. The physical events we are witnessing are in essence a reflection of a deeper, unseen reality. As above, so below. And so we arrive at the heart of the matter. What can Zimbabwean people do in the face of this complex and deeply troubling reality? First, we must confront a stark truth. We have become a politically disempowered citizenry. Because while we share a history of hardship, we lack the unifying purpose, the forged sword that has allowed other groups like the war veterans to wield power. Our trauma, instead of binding us, has fragmented us, leaving us dispersed and isolated. This is a fact. We have waited for signals, for external forces to guide us, but this passivity has to come to an end. We must become active agents in our own destiny. There is no other way. This requires a radical shift in our approach. We must become discerning consumers of information, separating the wheat of truth from the chaff of propaganda. We must seek out diverse perspectives from independent media, international sources, and academic analysis to understand the historical patterns that have trapped us in this cycle.
We've talked about do we need different leaders? Do we need different leaders in politically? Do we need different leaders in civil society? What ideas do we need to take Zimbabwe out of the crisis that has been engulfed in for the last 10 years? But one thing we haven't quite paid attention to is formulating ideas about the value system this country requires to take it forward. Someone in Zimbabwe has been accused for a long time for overstaying in office. But while that is a critique that is often made by many groups, Love Momaduku, as much as I love him, will amend the NCA constitution so that he can stay on. Right. Arthur Mtambara, I love him too, will also stay on. And then you wonder, but this is the generation that comes afterwards. How come they behave exactly the same way as the generation that came before them? And that boils down to values.
We must build our own power from the ground up. Grassroots organizing, critical thinking, and a deep understanding of our rights and responsibilities. These are not luxuries, but necessities. We must learn to navigate the political landscape strategically, knowing when to engage and when to abstain from participating in manufactured consent. We must also wean ourselves from a crippling dependence on the state. By developing localized, community-driven solutions to our social and economic problems, we can create pockets of resilience and self-reliance. Just as a plant sends out roots to find water, we must create our own networks of sustenance. In the immediate term, as tensions rise and disinformation swirls, we must strengthen our information networks, creating digital and physical spaces where truth can flourish. That we must do on our own. We must also establish safe havens, physical and virtual, where citizens can gather, organize, and support each other. And we must document any human rights abuses, any acts of manipulation, every attempt to silence the people's voices, ensuring that those who seek to control the people are held accountable. Zimbabweans, we're not sheep to be herded. We're not pawns to be moved on a chessboard. We are people with a history, a spirit, and a right to self-determination. That's our right. The time has come to reclaim that power to forge our own destiny and to build a nation that truly belongs to us all. That's real.